All right, so now we need to talk about aldosterone. So aldosterone, if you remember, is a mineral corticoid. Which means that it is a steroid hormone, and it's secreted by the adrenal cortex. So we need to kind of review what happened or what happens at the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So I drew this here, and we know that there are cells here. So these are cells in the distal convoluted tubule, and those are called macula densa cells. And then there are cells in the vessels here called juxtaglomerular cells. And those two together make up the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So macula densa cells, don't forget, monitor the filtrate for sodium. And when they see that sodium is too high, that means so high sodium in the filtrate means low blood pressure in the body and low blood volume. So from the juxtaglomerular apparatus, when those macula densa cells sense that the blood pressure is low, they signal the juxtaglomerular cells to secrete renin. And this should be all review. Renin will combine with angiotensin, which is in the blood. It is a plasma protein. Angiotensinogen, okay? And that's the plasma protein, and that becomes angiotensin 1. That comes into contact with ACE, which is an enzyme, and it becomes angiotensin 2. So we know that angiotensin 2 causes vasoconstriction, causes increased thirst, causes increased cardiac output. All of those things come from angiotensin 2, which will increase blood pressure. But it also increases aldosterone production. From the cortex of the adrenal gland. So what does aldosterone do? Well, it targets the kidneys, but it tells the kidneys to reabsorb sodium. Okay, so here's the blood, and we know, of course, that aldosterone is a hormone. It's a steroid hormone. So here's the blood, and aldosterone comes into the blood, right? And it floats through the blood, to the kidney, which is its target. So it is going to affect, this is a hormone, so it's going to affect either the distal convoluted tubule or the collecting duct. Okay, so there are cells within these tubules, within the collecting duct and the distal convoluted tubule. So distal convoluted tubule, collecting duct. They have cells, special cells called principal cells. So that's what I've just drawn here is the principal cell. Out here's the lumen. Here's the interstitial space in the blood. So principal cells are sensitive to aldosterone. Okay, so these cells have receptors inside of them. Remember, aldosterone is a steroid. So the receptor is going to be inside the cell. So the hormone is going to come into the cell and bind with this receptor, which is in the cytoplasm. This is a steroid hormone, so it is going to start protein synthesis because that's how steroid hormones roll. All right, so this hormone is going to start the synthesis of proteins that are going to create channels on the luminal edge, the luminal side for sodium. And that's going to allow sodium to come in. Sodium, of course, will be pumped out because there will, of course, be a sodium-potassium pump here. So sodium-potassium ATPase. And the sodium will go back into the blood. This aldosterone also stimulates the synthesis of another protein, and that is for channels for potassium. So as potassium comes in through the sodium-potassium pump, it is also barfed out into the lumen of the distal convoluted tubule or collecting duct. Okay? So potassium secretion occurs. So potassium secretion occurs in the presence of aldosterone. So we are reabsorbing sodium, but at a cost of secreting potassium. Okay. Now, aldosterone usually works with ADH. So usually when aldosterone is going on, ADH is, and vice versa, normally. Okay, so that is basically the way that we maintain the volume of the extracellular fluid is through aldosterone and ADH and its osmolarity. Okay.